Hello, everyone. On behalf of China-Switzerland Connection, I would like to welcome the audience to today's talk. I am Markus and Executive Board Member of China-Switzerland Connection. Our goal is to bring the Swiss and Chinese closer to each other to strengthen the common understanding. Culture exchange is particularly important to me. The topic of today's talk is Chinese students in Switzerland. I have invited 3 young Chinese friends who have impressed me with their diligence and commitment, but also with their friendly and cheerful manner since I have known them. On the one hand, we have Jun, PhD student, and on the other hand, we have Cheventia and Zihao, 2 master students who have followed each other from place to place since they left China, which I find very funny. I would like to welcome you 3 to this talk. And before we start with a question and answer session, I would like to briefly introduce you to the audience. I start with you, Jun Liu, born in 1991, coming from Linfen, Shanxi province. She did her bachelor in biotechnology in the Modern College of Arts and Science at Shanxi Normal University in China. And afterwards, she did her master in biochemistry and molecular biology at Xiamen University. Since 2017, she is in Switzerland doing her PhD in plant chemistry at ETH Zurich. Next year, she will finish her PhD, if everything is going well. So then we have Cheventia Lee, born in 1997, from Nanjing, Jiangsu province. After finishing her middle school in China, she went to Überlingen in Germany to study in an international boarding school. Her majors have been physics and economy. In 2017, she came to Switzerland to do bachelor and master in mathematics at ETH Zurich. Now to Zihao Zong. It's almost the same. Born in 1998 from Nanjing, Jiangsu province. After finishing middle school in China and studying Germany for 1 year, he also went to Überlingen in Germany to study in the same international boarding school. Also in 2017, he came to Switzerland to do bachelor and master in mathematics at ETH Zurich. He is now, you are still, right, president of the Association of Chinese Swiss Students and Scholars in Zurich. Is still like this, right? He doesn't answer. I guess it's true. So welcome to this talk. I have some questions to you about your life here in Switzerland, about your study life, etc. So I start with my first question. Why did you choose Switzerland to study? Please, Jun, can you start?
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Chun. And the reason I come to the Switzerland is because of the reputation of my professor in the plant starch field. And he's very famous and his work are excellent. So I checked his work before I came. And then I talked with him. I found he had a very interesting project to me. And we discussed through the Skype and we made the proposal about how to do the experiment during the PhD. And then I noticed, that's a very interesting and promising project. So that's why I came.
Okay, and he was also impressed by you during the talks. That's why he accepted you, right?
I think so.
You think so? Okay. Now to Cheventia. How was it for you?
Since I went to high school in Germany and did my Abitur there, so I prefer to go to a German-speaking region to complete my bachelor. And there in my high school, my math teacher advised me to study mathematics. And ETH is one of the top universities in the world in the field of mathematics, so I came to Switzerland to study math. Yeah.
And you, Jiho?
Yes, thank you for the invitation. And also, since I
You're
have studied
welcome.
in a boarding school for 3 years in Germany and accomplished my Abitur, I really like the culture and lifestyle in Europe. Moreover, ETH is definitely one of the best universities all over the world, and my interest also lies in the area of natural science. And the high reputation is also the main reason for coming to ETH.
Did you talk together? You were at the same school in
Yeah.
Überlingen. Did you talk together about this idea coming to Switzerland? Or did everyone decide without knowing from each other?
Because we have some like friends who are like 1 or 2 years old, like older than us, and some of them went to ETH, and some of them like went to other universities in Germany. And for me, it was like a quite hard decision, because I know that to study at ETH is quite challenging for me. And before, I would prefer to stay in Germany because I thought maybe the study there will be easier. And in the end, I decided to come to ETH. Yeah.
Similar for you, Jiho?
Actually similar. And also, we actually share the same physics teacher who suggests both of us to go to ETH and study math. And I think it do have a great impact for us to choose ETH as the university we go to, and also the friends who are older than us.
This is already part of the second question. How did you get information and documents for the registration, etc.? So the information you got that ETH is something good is by your physics teacher. And then how was it about other informations about the university and the place of residence? How did you manage that?
Like most of the information are on the internet, and also we took like some advice from our friends, and basically this is all the information we need to get the residence for our study. Yeah.
And through this kind of people, you also found about a residence, where to live, what possibilities you will have.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also already answered a bit, Jun. You searched for something good, and you find this professor in ETH. So it was clear why and how you found the information, right?
I think it was a very nice start, because in my previous lab we had a journal club every week, and one of my previous colleague presented the work from my current professor, and I got interested immediately. So I went to the internet and checked it and Googled his name, and then I found out his work. So that's why, and all of the works he had has his email. So I contacted him through the email. And in terms of the residence, because he, like after the Skype interview, he told me he would hire me for the PhD, and then I asked him for the help of the place of the residence, and then he brought me to his secretary, Barbara. And Barbara contacted me through email, asked my preference for the accommodation, and then he showed me about the places where I can rent, and she gave me 2 options. So I chose one of them.
So it's always good to know people in the country and who can help. Next question, how did you get to Switzerland? It's also different. I think for Jun, she came by plane from far. The other 2 guys were already very close at the so-called Bodensee and just had to cross the border. Or did you go back home first to China again to organize everything? How was that from coming from Germany to Switzerland first?
Like in between there's like a long summer holiday, so I went back to China to enjoy my holiday, and then I also fly from Nanjing to Zurich. Yeah.
Same for you. Going home first.
Everything went quite well, except but everything went quite well except for accommodation. Since I was in China and there's no accommodation distribution for bachelor students from ETH. There is one for master and doctoral students, but not for bachelor students. So it's actually hard for me to find an accommodation merely online because most landlord requires offline inspection. Yeah, that is actually quite hard for me at that time.
Also, I didn't successfully find accommodation before I arrived Zurich, but I spent some days by a friend in Zurich, like during that time. And for Holger, he was staying in an Airbnb, and he has to change it almost every day. And I met him once in the train station, like because he have to check out after 12 o'clock, and he didn't find a new hotel.
So he slept on the
12.
bench.
An interesting experience for him, I think. Yeah.
For Jun, it was easier. She had the accommodation already. Did you arrive well?
True. It was an excellent start, I have to say, because when I took the plane directly from Beijing to here, and Barbara was also nice, and she organized us like a Swiss girl called Melanie to pick me up from the airport, and directly, and she led me to the apartment, and we chatted, and she's very nice. Like Barbara organized everything before I came.
So you already answered question number 4. Have you been warmly welcomed? How is it in general in Switzerland? Have you been warmly welcomed by the students, by the university, by the people around?
Yeah, I think so. So because like for our secretary, she's Swiss, and the girl picked me up from the airport, also Swiss, and they are very nice. And in our lab, we have like around maybe about 50% of our colleagues are Swiss, and others from Italy, Hungary, and Spain, and also some people from Netherlands, and I'm from China. And we also had 2 postdoc, and one from America and another from India. So it's a very international group, and we get along well with each other.
How is it for you, Jihao, when you arrived? You had already some people here. You knew some people already, right? People who...
Actually, we were also welcomed by the university. There was an orientation day from ETH, and we actually had a work through the city Zurich, and they also introduced us how we could get along with the, for example, the transport or the accommodation and other things in daily life.
You experienced the same, I guess, Cheventia.
Yeah, except I first spent some time by a friend, and she's already in Zurich for 2 years. And
that's good.
Yeah.
Did you find help if you needed something, or what kind of help did you not get here in Switzerland? Maybe the first days or weeks. Jun, you want to start?
I think like in my case, because I mentioned to Barbara before I came, I didn't know anybody here, and so I asked all of the help from her. I said like the accommodation, and she organized the person to pick me up, and and also on the second day arrive, I went to the lab. She also organized a person to pick me up from the train station, and so like for and so I successfully arrive our lab, and then I start to do the work in the lab. So everything is fine from my side. So because like for the doctoral study, and we spend 80% of our time in the lab, and it seems like a very small group. And if we want something, we have the technician in the lab, and we have the secretary in the lab. So so if we want some help, we could go to them, and also could go to the colleagues from different countries. So it isn't a problem for me from my side.
So, and you can say Barbara is kind of godmother for you when you arrive. Okay. And how was it for the other two? Did you get help when you needed? Did you, or is there something particularly that you were lost?
Before LC Talk, there's another welcome event, like during summer holiday in Switzerland. And so many of my colleagues, they already know each other very well. And on the, in the party, it was like first quite awkward for me because things like so many people, they already know each other, and so they gather together. And yeah, at that time I feel a little bit lost at the party.
At the party. And you, Jihao?
And for me, I mean, I think for Cheventia and me, since we could speak German, and some of the information would be in German, it's actually easier for us to get some information. And actually, there's not so many things that we need to get some help from the others, but I do get some help from some other friends that I have met in Zurich, or from the friends who are older than me and from the same gymnasium in Germany. Yeah.
That's good. So all in all, the start was not so bad, huh? And you started well your university. How is it now? Are you studying well before and since COVID? It's different, right? Before you had the lectures, the classes at the university, and now everything is online. How do you feel with all this?
COVID has actually a great impact on the study at ETH, since we are not allowed to have offline lectures at ETH or the parties. The studying area and the social connections is pretty limited for us, and everything occurs only online through Zoom or through just like this meeting. Otherwise, we could actually meet in person, right?
Like it was quite difficult at the very beginning, since the atmosphere, the learning atmosphere is kind of like lost, because I prefer to study with a study group, like sitting with other people from math, like in the bib, and study together and have some small discussion during the break. And after that I slowly get used to this pressure. But now like because of now most of the lessons have recordings, so I can repeat like watching them again and again, and like from this aspect, like this helps me a lot.
Good. How is it for you, Jun? You work. Are you at your lab, or do you a lot at home?
Actually, in my case, because I'm a biochemistry student, so we have to do lots of the experiments, like in the lab physically. And so at the beginning of the corona, and the ETH was shut down, and all of the labs are shut down for 1.5 months, I think, if I remember correctly. And during that time, we worked remotely with analyze our data we had already achieved before, and also discuss with our professor more regularly than before. And we also talk with our colleagues remotely, also more frequently than before. So that is how we went through the lockdown. And after the lockdown, when the ETH restarted, reopened, so we kind of we were doing shifts. Some people are the early birds, so they want to go to the lab in the very early morning, and also some other people prefer to do it in the evening or the late evening, but it really depends on us. And the working time are very flexible to us. And we also have the sign up sheet, and we have to sign up when we get to the lab, and when we leave the lab, and also where did we go. So it means we kind of track ourselves, and also to keep the close intact with in touch with each other, and also with the professors. And because we have the regular lab meeting, so our professor always asks us if we feel something bad, or if we feel a little bit sick, unwell. So it's kind of in our group, we keep very closely in touch with each other. And so nowadays we are still doing the shifts, and for each rooms of in our lab has a limited number for the person. Some bigger rooms has access to the maybe 6 people, or the office they have to book the office before they go there. So, and then other people would know how many people would be there today, so they could keep the social distance at least 2 meters. So that is not a problem for us, because we have to go to the lab to do the experiment really physically. And then if we don't have to do the experimental work, we can analyze the data, work at home, and to do it remotely. Yeah.
Are you the early bird or the late shift woman?
I prefer to go there in the evening from afternoon.
From afternoon, okay.
Yeah.
Now we leave university and studying and work for a moment. I want to know from you guys, how do you experience Switzerland since you arrived here? Life in general, culture, social life, integration. Cheventia, you want to start?
For me, I liked life there in Switzerland very much, because I love hiking, and I learned how to ski with snowboard, and that's really fun for me. And the most people I met here are extremely friendly, and they gave me a lot of advice. And the only thing is that the Swiss German is really not that easy to understand. So I took the course last semester. Now I can understand a little bit Swiss German.
But you talk German, so
yeah, but still it's quite difficult, because at first they always say "zwo." They were quite different from the High German. For example,
that's true.
I always understand "zwo" as 12 before, but actually it means 2. And
yeah. So in your free time, you often hike, as you said. You hike. You go to the mountains also during winter time. Something else you do in your free time?
Before I know how to ski, I go how to say Schlitten. I don't know how to say that. Schlitten. And
I also don't know in English. Okay. Tihao, how about you? Your life in Switzerland? Do you like social life, integration? What do you do in your free time?
So Switzerland is surely a very developed and liberal country with its rich culture and natural vastnesses. as Switzerland is also a multi-international country, it's actually not hard for foreigners to live here. However, I don't think it's not really easy for a non-German speaking foreigners to completely integrate in this country. For example, also as Cheventia has spoken before, the Swiss German is widely spoken in Zurich, and if one doesn't understand it, it gets a bit difficult to integrate. However, the students at ETH comes from actually different countries all over the world, and it is not hard for us to also make friends here. And it's actually not really hard to integrate, but one needs to take some efforts. And yeah.
And your free time, how you spend it, except studying?
Sometimes, I mean, studying is truly a main part of it, but sometimes I do go hiking since the landscape in Switzerland is amazing. Otherwise, also go for parties with friends.
Good. Jun, how did you integrate? How is your life here, social life? How is your French and German? And what do you do
in my case, because our working language is English, so so far is that, and also very international working space, or like working environment, because all of our colleagues from the different countries, and like France, Germany, Italy, Spain, India, US, and also China, and of course Switzerland, and 50% of them are Swiss. So they could when we eat in the kitchen, and like also sometimes they speak German, and at the beginning I also took the lessons for German, and sometimes because if you sometimes I have the feeling for the language, if you don't use it very often, and you can easily forget very fast, and because our like if you like our working language is English, so everybody just get used to it, and when you want to ask something very fast, and I just do it in English, and they also reply to me in English. So that's not really a problem for me. And then for the free time, I also learned the snowboarding here. It's super good. The mountain covers with snow. It's very special, and the snow is super thick here, and you won't feel hurt if you fall down. So that's the thing I like. And I also like the mountains here. I go to like wander around in the forest, and also hiking in the mountains with my friends, and it's very nice.
So you all enjoy the nature here as a change for hard work inside, right? And in general, you also answered already. I wanted to know, is this that time you spend with friends, are these more Chinese people, are these more foreigners, or are these rather Swiss? Or is it a good mix? From your side, Jun, I already know it seems to be a good mix. How is it for the other two guys? Cheventia, you want to start?
Okay. For me, I think it's also a mix. Like sometimes I enjoy Chinese food with my friends, like we cook together, because here in Zurich it's quite expensive to go to the restaurant. And normally I hike with people from Swiss, and sometimes we also cook together Japanese food. That's quite weird, but some Chinese and some Swiss people we cook Japanese food. Like we also play cards together. Actually, like during the COVID, I spent most of my time with people from Swiss, because we are not allowed to always like go to party to some other people, so we have to stay together, and we all stay in the same apartment, and so we have a lot of communication during that time. Yeah.
How is it for you, Jihao?
I mean, they have shown me a lot of around in Switzerland. Like he has brought me to St. Moritz and shown me the landscape there. It's really nice. And also, because of the Chinese student organization, I also need to spend a lot of time with the Chinese students at ETH and UTH in Zurich. But there is also many connections with other Swiss organizations, like, for example, with your organization. And also there's also many other Swiss China organizations in Zurich. And it's also really interesting for me to have some events with you. Yeah.
Good. What are your plans for the time after studying PhD? Some ideas I already know what that you have, but can you tell it maybe to the whatever you want to tell to the audience? Jun, for example.
Actually, for me, I'm not so sure yet, because I would like to get my paper done and by the end of this year. So it's a deadline I set to myself. Before, I would like to have the paper published before my defense, and then maybe I would go for the postdoc, like to searching for the postdoc with the paper. So that would be easier for me, than without the paper. So, and I'm not so sure yet.
Yeah, and postdoc can be in Zurich or somewhere else.
Yes, can be everywhere, like anywhere.
Can be anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that is something really common in science and in academia. So if you like, the mobility is very important. The mobility can shows you can integrate it into any culture or to the any country. So you can really adjust yourself and learn things from them, and they also can learn things from you based on your experiences and also your techniques. So it depends. I would say the mobility is very important.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, from my case.
Yeah. Cheventia, you have already any ideas? I guess your study will take some more years, but
yeah, exactly. So I'm not quite clear with my plan in the future yet.
Everything can happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Short answer.
Because with no plan then means short answer.
It's too early for a plan.
Yeah, it's too early for a plan.
Yeah. And you?
I mean, it's not quite clear for me whether I study further for a PhD, but if not, I will seek for a good job opportunity in Switzerland and see whether I could find one. So, because it's actually not that easy for foreigners to find a job in Switzerland, especially for the non-EU students.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is there anything you would like to tell future students coming to Switzerland? Is there anything that they should definitely know or consider? Cheventia, you do like this, so do you have something?
Okay, I feel like the very important thing is that living in a big, like in apartment sharing with other people, helps you get to know more friends. Because besides studies, you spend most of the time with your roommate first. And another important thing is that if you go with a tram or bus, even though you are holding a year pass, you should first check whether your destination is within the 110 zone.
If it's in the right zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it is not, then you have to buy an extra ticket, and it will cost like 70 francs if it is not.
Yeah, the fine is expensive. Huh?
Yeah.
And yeah, see how you have something to tell future students?
Sure. The landscape here in Switzerland is really amazing. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah. And to going out and take a walk in the nature, it will be an unforgettable experience. And also making friends here is not that hard. All the people here are really friendly.
Okay. And for you, Jun, as a PhD?
For me, I think even though I didn't experience the difficulty for searching accommodation, but I still suggest I would suggest like you try the best to find the accommodation and don't be shy to ask for the help. Like no matter if they are the Chinese or if they are the foreigners or like from different countries, all of them would be very friendly to help and to show the information. Like for example, I would say even for the Chinese people, we have for the Chinese people there are in different countries we have the association, and the association always offers many information about the accommodation and also about the public transportation and everything. So don't be shy to ask for the help. It would really very useful.
Cool, thank you. Now to finish this talk, I would like to ask if you have something to share, a personal experience, something good, special, or also bad or sad, something you want to mention. Jun, you want to start if you have something?
Something to share is, I would say, always keep always be open-minded, because there are billions of people who behave differently. So be open-minded and respect. I think that would be something very important if you want to make friends with the people who are different from you, and also want to join the group, working in the group. That's also very important.
Did you do this kind of experience? I mean,
yeah,
that you realized you should be open, or that you see, oh, this is open here?
I would say from my working experience, because we have all of the people from the really different countries. If I count that, it would be around more than 10 countries. So because we have around 30 colleagues in total, and so everybody behaves different, and they have their own rules and principles. So they everything is super different from what I know from the Chinese people maybe, and I mean to them, I'm also a different person to them. So I would see you open mind and respect each other, and they also respect my manners. So and I also like to respect their manners and everything they like. So I would say that is also important if you really want to live in the group over 30 people from more than 10 countries. Yeah.
Thank you. Cheventia, something you want to share at the end of this talk?
I want to share something interesting that I found out in Switzerland. Is actually people from the same canton in Switzerland would rather prefer to hang out together. And there's sometimes some conflict between two different cantons, but out of no reasons. I think sometimes when there's conflict between them, I feel sometimes very awkward because I cannot deal with this kind of situation. I think this is something very interesting about people in Switzerland. Yeah.
This is the so-called Kantönligeist. Each one shoots against the other one. And there are some cantons very special in this. Yeah,
and they even speak different dialects. The Schweizerdeutsch in different cantons is also different.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And Xiao, something last?
As Yuan just said, I think the actually different dialect may be the main conflict between them, since there will be, for example, the Zurich Deutsch, the Bern Deutsch, and so on. And they all, since I have actually Swiss friends from different cantons, and they sometimes also discuss about that.
Mhm.
So about the different dialects, and which is actually the real Swiss German. And I personally am really glad and pleasant to be a member of the Association of Chinese Student Scholars, not only because I have met so many nice and responsible Chinese friends here, but I also get into contact with so many Swiss people. I mean, it's actually my pleasure to show and demonstrate what is the real essence and spirit of the Chinese culture, and let more people understand and know more about it. And that would be something really I would like to share.
Thank you. Jun, Cheventia, Xiao, thank you very much for this talk and for the time to share your experience with us. It was very exciting, big pleasure. I also hope that the audience who is going to watch this talk has fun and enjoyment, and that future students from China could benefit from it. In this sense, I would like to say goodbye. Have a great time, and hopefully we will see each other again at a physically held event. So thank you for this talk.
Also, thank you for the invitation, and it's actually also really glad for us to join